Welcome to the Know, I'm Ashley, and Activision is firing back at reports that Destiny 2 is down as much as 60% physically in certain territories. The company has now distributed its own press release to set the record straight. Remember when we talked about the physical sales being down, we noted that Activision's press release would be the real teller. Well, according to them, Destiny 2 is off to a strong start with the #1 console gaming launch week of the year to date. As for those claims that it's down physically, the press release also touted the game's digital sales, stating that it had record day one performance on PlayStation Store. Bungie CEO Pete Parsons was also on hand to say the game saw 8 straight days with more than 1 million concurrent players. So, all that actually sounds really good. The game's doing great. It is interesting to note that while they do celebrate strong pre-orders, engagement, concurrent players, and those are all very important metrics, they didn't say that it sold anywhere near Destiny 1, that it didn't break any of those records. So that is telling. Sales are probably still down a little bit, but then again, a lot of people waiting for PC. While most of the gaming world's attention has been on Destiny 2 in the last week or so, you might not have realized that today is actually a fairly big release date for a handful of games. September 15th is when the Dishonored 2 standalone DLC-ish, Dishonored Death of the Outsider, wraps up the events of Dishonored 1 and 2. It's also the launch of NBA 2K18 for all you sports fans out there. Metroid Samus Returns is also out on 3DS. There are barely any reviews to speak of for a lot of those titles at the time of writing. However, Dishonored Death of the Outsider does have an 8.5 mark from Game Informer since, well, a lot of those publications will get their reviews out early because, hey, they go to print. In the review, they call Death of the Outsider a strong chapter in one of the best modern action RPG series thanks to gameplay refinements and dedication to its dark fiction. This standalone expansion doesn't revolutionize the series, but instead does something more important, navigating the familiar to bring everything to a satisfying conclusion. In addition to those games, we've also got the official full release of Divinity Original Sin 2, which went out of early access yesterday on Steam. During early access, only part of the game was available, and now the full release has added loads more content. There are no official reviews out for Divinity Original Sin 2 just yet. However, the early reports from the Steam community are super positive. It's at a 90% rating on the platform, with thousands of reviews pouring in from players who've been playing from early access to full release. One player with 100 hours wrote, "One of the best games ever developed. They stick true to Divinity Original Sin while giving us new and exciting mechanics. Larian truly has delivered for the players, hands down the best game of its genre." It's also topped the Steam charts this week, finally taking the crown from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds for the #1 current bestseller, not concurrence. Obviously, because it's going to be a while before anyone takes that crown, clearly, but still doing really well. And Divinity Original Sin 2 is going to release on PS4 and Xbox One as well, but at a later date. We're just a little over a month away from the release of Assassin's Creed Origins, and Ubisoft has been steadily dropping more and more information about the game over the past few weeks, and as of this week, they've just dropped a trailer that details the game's bad guys. It reveals a little bit more about the villains, the Order of the Ancients, who the main character apparently has a beef with because otherwise they wouldn't be bad guys. According to some trailer narration, they'll stop at nothing to get what they want, even if it means tearing Egypt apart. So, they're kind of the Templars, right? At the end of the game, we're gonna learn that they're the Templars. Is that the big twist? I mean, that's usually how Assassin's Creed works. You have the Assassins, you have the Templars. This could change everything if that's not the case. Assassin's Creed Origins launches October 27th for Xbox One, PC, PS4, so we will find out for sure then. There have been all kinds of not so great reports about the launch of Lawbreakers, with concurrent player numbers dropping as low as 50 in the game's first month. Pretty rough. Now the game's creator, Bleszinski, is talking about the launch and what the company needs to do moving forward. According to Bleszinski, the game is actually doing just fine on PS4, but that on PC, people are overthinking it. The designer told GameSpot in a new interview, "I have to keep this game alive first and foremost. I can be very cocky and very brash on social media, and realizing that, we have a fledgling player base. It's been very humbling for me. I'm going to continue to iterate on this game, continue to add to it, and try to be less of a dick, honestly." Oh, Cliffy, it might not be you, honestly. It might just be that the game, while everyone says it's pretty good, maybe not exceptional in a world where everyone is just playing Overwatch. It's rough. I mean, it hasn't worked for a lot of games. It doesn't mean they're bad games. We do have some details on the PC open beta for Call of Duty World War II. Sledgehammer Games said the beta for PC players is going to kick off at September 29th. It's going to run through October 2nd on Steam, and the beta will be open for everyone, not just people who pre-ordered the game like it was with the console beta earlier this month. Sledgehammer said part of the reason for making the PC beta open was to stress test core gameplay systems and online backend infrastructure at scale. And of course, the full game hits stores November 3rd, but hey, get out there and stress test those core gameplay systems and to decide if you want to buy it. That's what they'd really like you to do, is buy it. Telltale Games has some new leadership. Pete Hawley, the former general manager and senior vice president for games at Zynga, has been named Telltale's new president and CEO. He also previously worked at EA, Criterion Games, and co-founded the developer Red Robot Labs. The CEO spot came open after former Telltale head Kevin Brunner said he was stepping down in March. Telltale's got a lot of stuff currently in the works. The second season of Wolf Among Us was finally announced and will be released next year, along with the next installment of Guardians of the Galaxy. They have licenses for just about everything, so who knows? But on a personal note, Zynga? Okay. Now, we've got a release date for the next John Wick movie, so hurrah! The Hollywood Reporter says the third film in the action series, John Wick Chapter 3, will hit theaters May 17th, 2019, making it the first summer release for the franchise. We don't know a plot or who's directing it or, any of those little details, but it will be written by Derek Kolstad, who is responsible for the first two John Wicks, and we assume it's going to involve Keanu and a lot of guns, which is really what we're all there for. The first two movies have been super successful. The first grossed $88 million in 2014. The sequel made $171 million globally earlier this year. So it's just ticking up, and well, I think we're all happy to see more John Wick. If you're a fan of Blade Runner and anime, this next story is for you. Shinichiro Watanabe, the director of Cowboy Bebop, is directing a short Blade Runner anime that takes place a few years after the first movie. In a teaser clip from Sony Pictures Japan, Watanabe calls the first Blade Runner movie the work that has influenced me the most in my anime profession. So, pretty safe to say he's a fan. The short film is going to release on the Sony Pictures Japan YouTube channel on September 26th, so pretty soon. And of course, the new movie Blade Runner 2049, which stars a returning Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling. Well, Ryan Gosling's not returning, but Harrison Ford is returning. Either way, they both seem great, and Harrison Ford punched Ryan Gosling in the face! Anyway, it hits theaters on October 6th. Is it possible to cut off the internet? That's what President Trump says following a terrorist attack in London after a subway bombing there, which injured at least 22 people. Trump tweeted, "Loser terrorists must be dealt with in a much tougher manner. The internet is their main recruitment tool, which we must cut off and use better." So that's leaving a lot of people who use the internet a lot wondering, what did he mean? Cut off the internet to everyone, try to block suspected terrorists from using the internet, ban certain websites? Wasn't entirely clear, but this isn't the first time Trump has called for the internet to be blocked or locked down in some way due to terror attacks. In 2015, he said he would ask Bill Gates to close up the internet to help stop ISIS. I don't know, did Bill Gates turn him down? Either way, I'm a little bit worried because he's also referred to the internet as cyber before. I'm not sure if he knows how it works. After a 20-year mission that gave us lots of new information about Saturn and its moons, NASA's Cassini spacecraft said farewell this morning. The craft plunged into Saturn in a suicide dive this morning, but not before sending us a few final pictures of the planet, the first ever from inside its atmosphere, which is kind of crazy. Cassini launched in 1997. It took 7 years and nearly 2.2 billion miles to reach Saturn, where it has been in orbit since 2004, studying the planet and its moons. Among the many discoveries it made, maybe the biggest is that one of Saturn's moons, Enceladus, has an ocean underneath its crust, which means that it might be habitable for life. Not that it is, but it possibly could. After the probe's fuel ran out, NASA decided to basically steer it into Saturn, where it vaporized, as opposed to crashing on a nearby moon, because they didn't want any microbes possibly affecting life there. R.I.P. Cassini, and good work. You are the first ever spacecraft we've crashed into Saturn. Hopefully there will be many, many more. Alright, that's the news we have for you guys on this roundup. Let us know what you think of all this news in the comments down below. To make sure you get news from every corner of the internet every day, like this video. If you're new around here, subscribe to the know. We're gonna sneak science stuff in your gaming stuff. September 15th is when the Dishonored 2 sort of standalone expansion, Dishonored Samus Metroid Returns is, god damn it. Larian has delivered 4 discoveries it made. Maybe the biggest is that one of Saturn's moons, but